A record-breaking number of New Yorkers have voted early in the city's closely watched mayoral election. According to the city's Board of Elections, more than 160,000 people have cast their ballots over the first 2 days of early voting. The Democratic frontrunner Zohran Mamdani held a sold-out rally yesterday alongside New York Governor Kathy Hochul, Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders. Mamdani spoke about the launch of his mayoral campaign, which came 13 days after President Trump secured a second term in the White House.
This was a moment where it seemed our political horizon was narrowing. And in this moment, New York, you had a choice to retreat or to fight.
CBS News political director Fin Gómez joins us now. Fin, tell us more about this rally.
Yeah, it's a very significant rally, I thought. Mamdani, the Democratic Socialist contender, came out of nowhere, essentially, to upend this race. He went from someone with very little name ID, for one, to the Democratic frontrunner with just a week out until the elections. On Sunday, he was heralded by the two most prominent leaders of the left, Bernie Sanders and AOC, but also the centrist governor of New York, Kathy Hochul. And you talked about that crowd of 13,000 people in Queens who cheered him on, but there was this moment, Lindsay, where during Hochul's remarks, where she was interrupted by loud tax the rich chants from the audience. Hochul has endorsed Mamdani, but has opposed his plan to raise taxes on the wealthy, citing concerns about driving New Yorkers out of the city. But Hochul encouraged Mamdani supporters to carry their energy to the voting booths on Election Day. But there was this moment, Lindsay, when he joined Hochul at the end of her speech, grabbed her hand in triumph and seemingly solidarity before they walked off the stage. But that moment when he held her hand above in this victorious gesture showed that he had brought the left and now the Democratic establishment together. And remember, just last Friday, Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries endorsed Mamdani. Lindsay?
What lessons might Democrats be taking away from this race ahead of next year's midterms? Or is this city simply too much of an outlier?
That's a great question because, top Democrats that I've spoken to are looking to the New York City mayoral race as a potential roadmap for how Democrats can win again after their big losses to Donald Trump and Republicans last year. And if one thing is to see how his issue of affordability and inflation, how that can win over and galvanize the base. But they're also looking at the two gubernatorial races in Virginia and New Jersey. In those races, the two Democrats, Abigail Spanberg in Virginia and Mikey Sherrill in New Jersey, they're running essentially as centrists. And you have Governor Josh Shapiro from Pennsylvania. You have Pete Buttigieg, the former transportation secretary, and even former President Barack Obama, who have been campaigning for them. So what you're seeing play out in real time is these two alternate plans, these two alternate roadmaps for Democrats on how they believe they can win again against Republicans. And so that's going to be really interesting with the midterms coming up in a year from now, Lindsay. The other thing, I spoke to some top Republican strategists and operatives who say while they don't want Mamdani to win, if he does, they tell me they plan on making Mamdani the face of the Democratic Party, hoping to paint the party as too far left heading into those midterms. Lindsay?
Fin Gómez, thanks so much. Mamdani told the New York Post yesterday he is proud to be a Democratic Socialist. That label and his membership in the Democratic Socialists of America, or DSA, has attracted scrutiny on the campaign trail, and we wanted to take a closer look at the DSA and Mamdani's connection to the group. Socialism as a political ideology has existed in the United States since the 1870s. More than 1,000 socialist candidates were elected to public office between 1900 and 1920. According to the University of Washington's Mapping American Social Movements Project, which tracks national political movements that influenced American life. So that includes mayors, state legislators, and members of Congress. Famously, New York Mayor Fiorello LaGuardia self-identified as a socialist and joined a New York Socialist political party that existed between 1936 to 1956. And several decades later, Mayor David Dinkins was a member of the same DSA organization that Mamdani is now a part of. The DSA came to be as a result of two other socialist political parties merging in 1982. The group was established and still believes in many of the same ideals as past socialist parties, like the importance of worker power and the spreading of democracy as an equalizing tool for all citizens. The core difference with socialist organizations that existed at that time was the DSA's support for working with and within the Democratic Party to push for its policy beliefs. That practice is how Michigan Democratic Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib and New York Democratic Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez can be both Democrats and DSA members. The DSA went through a significant membership boost after Vermont Independent Senator Bernie Sanders' 2016 campaign, who identifies as a Democratic Socialist but not as a DSA member. The group went from 6,000 members to 95,000 in 2021. Mamdani was also inspired to join the DSA after Sanders' 26 campaign, according to the New York Times and New York Magazine profiles on the politician. But he has said that not all national DSA policies are in his platform, including eliminating misdemeanor offenses and closing all jails.